Welcome to the Explainer. Some laws are just about rules, but others try to change society itself. And that's exactly what we're looking at today. India's Dowry Prohibition Act of 1961. This wasn't just any law. It was a major attempt to tackle a really tough social issue.
So let's get right to the heart of it, with a question that this law desperately tries to answer. It sounds simple, but the answer can literally be the difference between life and death. All right, so Section 1, a gift or a crime. This really gets to the core of it. The whole idea behind this law was to draw a super clear line, a line in the sand, you could say, between a totally normal voluntary wedding present and a demand, something coercive, that can lead to some really terrible outcomes.
And the law's purpose? Well, it's about as simple as it gets. Prohibit the giving or taking of dowry. That's it. Right from the get-go in 1961, the goal was to make this practice illegal because, let's be honest, it had become a huge weight on families, both socially and financially.
Okay, next up, what the law bans. So, what exactly is an illegal dowry in the eyes of the law? This part is absolutely critical because the definition here, well, it's the foundation for everything that follows.
So, according to Section 2, a dowry is basically any property or valuable, anything, given or even agreed to be given, directly or indirectly, in connection with the marriage. Now, the key thing to notice here is how broad that is. We're talking before, during, or even years after the wedding. Why? Well, it was a really smart way to close this massive loophole where demands could just keep coming and coming.
But here's where it gets interesting. The law makes a really important distinction. See, on one side, you have illegal dowry. That's a precondition, it's demanded, it's coercive. But on the other side, you have permitted presents. Those are totally fine. But, and this is a big but, they have to be voluntary, given without any demand, and they need to be written down on a formal list. The second a demand is made, boom, it crosses the line from a gift into a crime.
Okay, the price of dowry. Now, to make sure that line in the sand actually means something, the act was given some serious teeth. We're talking about some pretty strict penalties for anyone who decides to ignore the law.
So let's start with the big one. If you're caught giving or taking dowry, what happens? We're not talking a slap on the wrist. The law says the minimum prison sentence is 5 years. 5. That sends a pretty powerful message, right? This is not a minor offense.
And it's not just jail time. On top of that, there's a hefty fine. We're talking a minimum of 15,000 rupees. But here's the clever part. It's that amount, or the actual value of the dowry, whichever one is higher. So you can't just get away with a small fine for a huge dowry.
But wait, there's more. The law is really comprehensive. It doesn't just go after the main act of giving or taking dowry, which, as we saw, gets you at least 5 years and a big fine. No, just demanding a dowry can get you 6 months in jail. And get this, even advertising that you'll offer property or money to get someone to marry into your family, that's also illegal, with another 6-month sentence. They really tried to cover all the bases.
All right, so we've talked a lot about punishment. But this next part, it's her property, shows that the law is about more than just that. It actually has this, well, for its time, a truly revolutionary idea built right into it, all about empowering and protecting the woman at the center of all this.
This is so important. The law says that any dowry given, even if it was given illegally, is the legal property of the woman. It doesn't just vanish into thin air because it's illegal. Instead, the law does something brilliant. It says, okay, this was exchanged, fine. It now belongs to the bride. It's hers. Not her husband's, not her in-laws, hers.
And the act is super specific about how this works. It's called the transfer of property in Section 6. So step 1, say someone else gets the dowry, maybe her father-in-law. Step 2, they legally have to transfer it to her, and they only have 3 months to do it. In step 3, until they do, they're basically just holding it in trust for her. It's not theirs to keep, and you can bet there are penalties if they don't hand it over.
Now, this might be the single most powerful and protective part of the entire law. It's a crucial safeguard, really, for the absolute worst-case scenario. The law says that if a woman dies within 7 years of her marriage, and it's not from natural causes, well, that property, that dowry, it doesn't stay with her husband's family. It has to be transferred back to her parents. This was designed to remove a huge and often tragic financial incentive.
Okay, so we have all these rules, these penalties, these protections. But you might be wondering, how does any of this actually work in the real world? Well, that brings us to our next section, making the law work. The Act has some really unique features to make sure it's not just a piece of paper.
Let's look at some of these key enforcement provisions. First, it's not just the victim who can file a complaint. Her parents, relatives, even a recognized welfare organization can do it. Second, the offenses are non-bailable, meaning you don't automatically get out of jail, and non-compoundable, which means the case can't just be dropped if the two families make up. But honestly, the last point here is the real game changer, and it's pretty wild for criminal law. The burden of proof is on the accused. They have to prove they didn't take a dowry. That flips the whole innocent until proven guilty idea right on its head.
So when you put it all together, the Dowry Prohibition Act is, there's no doubt, it's a really strong law. It's got serious penalties, clever protections, it's a powerful tool. And yet, the problem persists. Which brings us to a final, really big question to think about. If a law is this strong, why is the practice so hard to stop? It really makes you think about that gap, right? The gap between the law as it's written and the reality of change on the ground.